Let's take a look at another wonderful Agnes Martin canvas. This one comes from 1981, and it's called Untitled No. 1. Here, as is common for Martin's work in the 1980s, we're looking at a painting made in acrylic. She started her career predominantly working with oils and then really made a very strong transition into acrylic emulsion paints for much of her career. And in fact, you already know that just by looking at this canvas because it's extremely thinly painted, and nowhere in this surface do we have that yellow cast, that yellow color that we associate with linseed oil. So she is working with paint out of the tube, where she's painting with tons of water. In fact, 10, 20 times as much water by volume than paint that she's actually squeezing out of the tube. So it is an acrylic painting, but the aesthetics that she's dealing with actually have as much to do with watercolor technique as they do with acrylics. Martin is working with only 1 or 2 layers of priming. Now, priming, as you know, seals the canvas, but of course it also contributes a color to the finished painting. Here that priming is white. Very typically, artists also use priming to smooth the surface. Textile, as you know, has a kind of rough fabric surface, warps and wefts. So a priming can be used to smooth that out. Very interestingly, Martin chooses not to do that. She only uses 2 layers. She applies them thinly. She does not sand them. Why is that important? Well, all of these lumps and bumps that she's left on the surface are going to prevent her hand from working smoothly. This is part of the plan, so that the tip of her pencil is going to chatter back and forth around those bumps rather than smoothly executing a plain line as you would on, say, paper, for example. Also, what you can notice very quickly is that she's alternated these bands of very thin applications of paint, reds, blues, etc., with some unpainted ones, which remain white. And as we take a look at the entire composition, you may be fooled into thinking that these are repeating sections, these 4 broad bands of color moving across the canvas, but they're really not. As we look closely, we realize that there's some chaos that the artist is deliberately introducing here, red then white then blue, or red and red again and then blue and then white, etc. So that in a way, when we remember this painting, or if we stand back and just think about the painting, look at the painting from a distance, we perfect it, we make it perfect. But if you think about it, if you really look at it, you realize that even the patterns themselves are wildly inconsistent. After she's executed those bands of color, she's then reinforcing the boundaries between them, often with blue-colored pencil, which again is seen chattering over the surface.